All right, so this is day 2 of the coffin build, and I'm relaxed. I've taken my time. I've centered myself. I'm ready. I'm gonna get this done right. Okay. So, what I found by doing some measurements, I'm not going to bore you with the angles, is I went up there to the top there and I figured out between those 2 spots on there, I need a 60-degree angle to get that to mount up flush. So I need to cut a board at 60-degree angles to get that. And to do that, I need to set my saw at what? 30 degrees. Because if you set your saw at 30 degrees, it'll mean that it'll go to 60 because it's 30 degrees off of 90. So that being said, I'm gonna lock my saw in here at the 30 degree mark. And if you don't understand why they do that, I kind of thought about it and realized why they do that. They make these miter saws and stuff generally for people that are doing like framing work and larger construction work. So like if you're doing framing, pretty much all your joints are coming off of 90 degrees. So yeah, it makes sense. But at any rate, this right here, set to 30 degrees, as you can see. I think the video might be flipped, but hey, I don't know how to fix that right now. And I'm not gonna bother. And I'm just stepping on stuff and breaking whatever, but it's cool. All right, so I'm gonna measure out my part here, and I've got, it looks like at the longest points, I should have right about 20.5 inches. So I need this board to be right about 20.5 inches. All right. Okay. So, a fairly good cut here, not too shabby. Looks, you look at it straight on, it looks pretty good. Look at it, it's a little off, so it looks pretty good. Look at it this way, it looks pretty much there. So, that being said, everything's fine. So now I'm basically just gonna screw that piece in to the bottoms. And once I've got that piece screwed in, I'll be able to move on to the bottom board. And once the bottom is done, once I get this outside piece done pretty much, I guess like the frame of it pretty much, once I get that done, this whole thing is gonna be easy. The last parts are super simple once I get that done. So here we go, last little bit, and yeah, sweet. There, screwed it. It's like nailed it, but not because I nailed it, I didn't screw it. There we go. A little test, make sure it's sturdy. Right now, this thing is about 7 feet long. Yeah, it's about 7 feet long. I don't want it to be 7 feet long. I want it to be 6 and, I think it's like 6 and a half is what I was going for. So I'm gonna measure from the head up here and find my 6.5 foot mark. I need to make a mark on the side of this. And I'm basically gonna find my angle. And I'm not looking for this to be perfect. It doesn't have to be. I'm gonna mark it a little bit a little bit longer than I want it to be for the night, I'm expecting. But the next step here is going to be find the angle for the bottom, and once I've found said angle, then I can do the thing. Okay, so I'll cut this at an 85-degree angle, and I'll put that in a way that'll make it actually fit. So yeah, I think I'm making some good progress here. I gotta stop turning this way. I'm turning it the way I turn it. It always tends to. I think those are falling apart. It's about time some new ones. Whew. But yeah, so time to get the last piece of wood here for the bottom, and set my saw to 5 degrees. Set. That'll do it. I'll move the camera over so you can see the final fitting of the thing into the other thing. And like a glove, okay, there we go. Obviously I gotta trim off the excess up here, but I mean, it's where it needs to be. And I'll just link these lines up and make sure everything's set where it needs to be. And we're set. Okay, well, you've seen me screw enough things to other things to know how this is about to go. This is actually just a pretty quick screw because it's almost exactly just a perpendicular pilot hole I'm drawing, so it's not even gonna be a hard one. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the camera off, get some of these files moved over to my computer so that I can record the next important stuff. And yeah, I'll be back then. So I know what you're thinking. You said, oh, you're gonna come right back and as soon as we get the things done. It took a long time to get that SD card empty, I'll tell you what. So anyhow, I pretty much went ahead and did a few different things. Number one, I went ahead and I traced out the bottom of this frame here and on the plywood, and I cut it out with the circular saw, which, not that hard to do. I'll have another chance to show you how to do that again. And I also screwed that plywood to the bottom of this, which, you're not gonna see again because, well, you'll see me take the screws off when I go to put the glue on. But, you've seen me screw things to other things quite a few times already. So, yeah. And you're about to see me screw some more things together because I did make some mistakes here. I made the bottom, I cut the board a bit too short, the plywood bottom a bit too short. So to fix that, I basically just made a new kicker board here and moved it up 1/4 or 3/4 of an inch so that it's sitting in line with that bottom piece. So I lost 3/4 of an inch. Not that big of a deal, honestly. So, oh well. But the next thing I gotta do now before I do anything else is I need to go ahead and get this screwed on so that I can show you how to make all of these pieces level. So I'll show you this later, but I've already gone through the power planer and I've planed down all of the sides so that they're the same height. Not really that hard to do, pretty simple, but I'll show you how it's done. And I'll show you how it's done on this piece here, which this piece will be a little bit more interesting because I'm gonna use a jigsaw, but it'll be fine. All right, solid as a rack. Okay, so next thing is to go ahead and I'm gonna trim off all of the excess stuff here with my planer. And Once I've trimmed off all the excess, then I'm going to go ahead and loosen the screws up, screw everything together with glue, and then reattach all the pieces. So, I mean, there's that. Once that part's done, then I'm going to cut out the final top piece, and then it's basically just a matter of doing a little bit of sanding here or there, a little bit of trimming down of things, kind of a little bit of finish work, and it's done. Oh, I put hinges on, got to put hinges on. So as you can see here, I've got a nice little overhang. I don't really want that. I've also got some overhang here. I don't want that either. So what I'm gonna do is first, like small offsets here, little small gaps, a little bit of overhangs. You can use just a belt sander or hand sander, whatever you want to use. I prefer a belt sander for this type of thing, but for these larger overhangs though, that's when you gotta pull out a little bit more beefy of a toy, which is gonna be my hand planer. So I'm gonna use my hand planer, power planer, and power hand planer? I think it's called a power hand planer. But I'm gonna use that to knock off these edges. And I'm gonna start with a pretty aggressive 1/16 inch bite out of all these pieces. And then I'll kind of tamper that down. Now the main thing you wanna think about here when you're doing this is start with the edges that are the largest and then go from there. This is gonna get kind of weird because I've got a screw here and I don't wanna hit my screw, so I might take the screw out in order to get this to where I need it. But yeah, we'll figure this out. It'll be fine. All right, let's go. All right, now that I'm getting real close, I'm gonna switch over to my sander and I'm gonna sand this down to where I need it. Of course, it'd help if I plugged in the sander. Still got a good bit of thickness left on that end, so switch back to my planer and use, again, a not so aggressive angle to kind of knock down a bit more of the high spots on here. Something like a 1/64. The closer you get your angles to begin with, the less of this you have to do. Learn from my mistakes. Alright, so now I got that all pretty smooth. Yeah, that's a good smooth angle. So now I'm gonna have to redo these screws a bit. This screw actually looks like it might do just fine still, but I kind of don't know if I want to use screws. I'm kind of thinking I might want to use nails, because if I tack it on with nails and use the glue, I basically get the same mechanical and chemical joint, but instead of having to deal with screws, I just have nails. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use a brad nailer to put several brads that I'm using. I think these are about 1-inch brads. And I'm just gonna basically use them to pin this in together once I put the glue on. The glue will be the majority of what's holding this joint together, which is a good thing. So I'm gonna take a couple screws off on the back side so that way I can move this board a little bit better. Should be the flexibility I need to move the board. And I'm just gonna put a good bead of glue in here. There it is. Get that joint where I want it, and then pin it together. Well, that didn't go quite the way I expected. Also, turn the power up on this. It should do. Okay. Oh, wow. Power down. Shot the nail directly through. Holy crap. Interesting. All right. Or maybe it just didn't go. Oh, it's not even going in. That's the problem. These weird angles. Why? All right. Here's what I'm gonna do. Well, it actually worked out, so never mind. We're good. Turn the power back up. Alright, so yeah, that worked out. Alright, one more actually. Okay, so I've got my first joint glued. And I'm going to put these screws back in to make sure everything stays where I want it. Alright. Well, there's that. So next is going to be fixing this joint the same way. That joint right here, it overhangs a bit, so I'm going to cut that. I'm going to line up the blade so that I get the angle that I'm looking for. So I got a good chunk of it off. We're pretty even. Now it's a matter of using the planer to dial it in a little bit more. And I'm just gonna trim this down until I get to where I need to be. I'm actually gonna start with this other side to get this part done first. That's pretty good. And I take the screws out, and I need to put the glues in. Next thing is this other side. So this is where it gets kind of weird, is I gotta get these overhangs taken off. So for that, I actually might be able to use a jigsaw. I think I could use a jigsaw. I think I've got actually enough room, and the angle is, yeah, the angle is not really steep here. So I can actually use the jigsaw on here rather than using the circular saw, which is kind of preferred because jigsaw is a little easier to handle. And if I'm making mistakes, I can easily correct them. So I'm going to use the jigsaw here to just kind of cut off this excess. So just that easy. Cut off a large portion of the excess there. Still got a little bit left, but I think I gotta do with the other side. I'm just gonna plane that off real quick, and we'll be good to go. We can flip it over and start working on the next bit. I'm gonna run a sander across this joint here as well on the back, just to make sure that gets fairly smoothed out as well. Alright, so now it's time to flip it over, cut off the other side, and then get all this smoothed out to a nice even spot. Alright, so I've got all sides glued, screwed, nailed, what have you, and now it's time to just go ahead and finish off this little piece here. And I'm just going to take this off with the jigsaw, just like this. I'll cut it off nice and easy, and then come back with the planer and make it, you know, good and even. All set there. Last thing I need to do is twofold. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over upside down, and I gotta do two things. Number one, I gotta sweep everything out of this and get everything out. Number two, I need to take off the screws on the bottom and get a bead of glue along the outside to make sure that this is good and solid. And then I need to trace an outline on the plywood down here that I'm going to use as my guide for cutting the lid out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come around and take off every screw. It's going to take me a hot minute. So, other tip for when you're doing this, trace out your lines, and then you want to extend them. Extend your lines. First, make your lines really good, dark and visible, but then once you're done with your lines, and you've moved your piece, what you're going to want to do is get your straight edge out and extend all those lines. And the reason for that is because it will make cutting off the excess much better. Because the thing is, once you get done following your line, if you're using a circular saw, you're still probably not going to be actually done yet. You'll still actually probably have to follow something to get to the end of things. Here we go. All right, moment of truth. Let's see if this is gonna fit or not. You might have saw me measuring partway through there. That's because I wanted to make sure I hadn't cut that too short. And it looks like it's big enough. I just need to get the alignment right. Oh, you know what? Funny thing, I gotta flip it because it's not exactly right. Unless it's flipped over on the other side. Because it's not perfectly symmetrical. As much as I would like for it to have been, it's not. You can tell I'm getting tired. Hang up. Well, let's see. Like a glove. Having a hard time because every time I move it in one direction, the other part doesn't move where I want it to go. But there it is. It's in the spot I wanted it to be. Alright, so there's one last thing that I need to do with this. So the person I'm making this for actually wanted this to be a split. He wants it to open the top and the side. He wants them to both open. So, in order to do that, I'm going to have to cut, you know, around here somewhere. But I also need to put the hinges on. So I'm gonna go grab my hinges, and then we'll put the hinges on, and then I'll do the cut. I love these decorative T hinges because these have kind of like a gothic look to them. And I thought that would fit well with this particular thing. And pretty much the way you want to put these on is there's two ways to do it. The first way is like this. And if you do it like this, you'll have your hinge on the outside, which is it's kind of meh. The other way to do it is to leave the hinge on top like that, which is also kind of meh. You could also put like a mortise in there so that you have like, you mortise out basically where the hinge would go. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna be that fancy here. Instead, I'm gonna put the hinges on just like that on the outside because that will make me happy. Okay. Oh, it opens. Opens all the way. Now there's different ways you could do this, different ways you could hinge this, but I'll tell you, none of them really matter. Do whatever the hell you want. This is perfectly fine though. Alright, so the last thing I need to do here is cut that line across so that they can be split. I'm going to set my saw to the depth where I'll cut just above the just above the line here. That way I don't have to take the whole top off, because that's really what I'm trying to avoid doing. Oh, beautiful. Love it when a plan comes together. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay, so coffin build complete. The last thing I want to do is I'm going to show you, like I've been saying, how to make your own wood filler, which is super simple. And it's really something everybody that does woodworking should know how to do. Because you can buy a wood filler, yeah, and it's expensive, and you get a small amount of it usually. Comes in little tubes that are really annoying, and it comes out in like a pasty type form. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I use for wood filler. So, see if I can show you. We got these cracks in here that just natural splits in the wood pretty much that kind of happened. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to step in here. I'm going to put a little trail of glue in there. I'm going to fill them in with glue. Okay. Just fill them in with glue. Alright, a little bit more up here. And after I fill them in with glue, I'm going to come back over here and grab just a handful of some of the finest sawdust that I can find. I've got some in here even that I can use. And I'm going to put a bunch of this fine sawdust right in there. Plenty of it. And then I'm just gonna massage it in there. You gotta press down firmly, and sometimes you need to come back and put more glue in. Do that number, but there you go. Wood filler, made easy. Crack is pretty much invisible if you didn't know it was there. Once you paint it, you're not gonna know it's there anyway. All right, so coffin's done. It took me about 2 days to build this thing. If you need to build one in a hurry, hey, go ahead, you can do it. You probably do it in one day if you spend your whole day doing it. Me, I'm kind of slow. So I got a lot of things going on, plus it's hot. It's very hot here. And I'm in a garage and I'm recording this with the door shut because I don't want, you know, an outside noise and junk. So yeah, got a nice wood filler on my fingers here. And I'm out of breath and tired, yeah. So I'll see you next time. I've decided for the drawing, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to go ahead and pretty much make a video that is specific for the drawing, and anybody that comments in there will have an opportunity to get into the drawing. So you have to comment on the video that I mentioned, and then you get the chance to be drawn. I'm going to draw from that list of comments. So there you go. Anyway, thanks again for watching. Appreciate it. Until next time, try not to end up in one of these.